Black women take up 7.4% of the US population, but only 1.4% of senior management roles. My name is Mercedes, and I'm here to change that. Today, I am telling you as a Black woman what you need to make that successful transition into management so that you can climb the ladder, okay? So let's get into it. Hey there, if you are new here, my name is Mercedes. I am the Career Love Coach. It is my goal to really help Black women advance in their careers. I aim to be a thought leader on the experience that Black women have in the workplace, and also I have another goal of coaching 1,000 Black women into their dream job. So welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, I have been in human resources for 7 years, and at this point 3+ years of management experience, and I was very intentional about moving into management. I knew that's what I needed to make sure that I had a long-term successful career. So what I'm doing today is sharing with you 5 of my very favorite tips, things that I really think helped me make that leap, and I'm going to share it with you so you can do the same. Oh, and you're going to want to make sure that you stay into the end, because I am going to share some additional tips for you to overcome some of the biases, systemic issues, and barriers that we face as Black women in America and getting into that management level role. And yes, I'm going to share a little bit of my personal experience as well. If you've been here for a little bit, love, and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do that. I want you to get notified of my upcoming videos. I also want to grow my YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe and tap the bell so you can get notified. Ooh, that rhymed. All right, love. So your very first thing that you want to do, it is the essential base of becoming a manager, is that you first have to be a strong individual contributor, okay? Let me say what a strong individual contributor is. That means that you are individually contributing to your role, to the organization, but you're not managing others, right? And so we need to make sure that we are doing our job to the highest ability. That is one of the best ways to get visibility, for people to understand your work ethic, your potential, and it's often what's going to set you up best for moving into the next level role. So a lot of times people who are considering you for a promotion, they are looking at your work ethic and the work that you've performed rather than all of your people skills, because a lot of times you won't have as much as that management experience, again, if you haven't transitioned to that management role. That makes sense. So they're going to be looking at your track record. I will say that if you are in a position or a career that you're not engaged with, you don't love it, you'd rather be doing something else, then you want to make sure you transition first, right? You cannot advance in a career path that you're not putting your all into. I know that as Black women, we are reframing and re-empowering ourselves in the workplace in order to make sure we have balance. I don't mean that you're working yourself into the ground, okay? I believe in work-life balance, but you want to make sure that you're committed to your role, that you're doing good work, and that there are really tangible outcomes. So be good at your job first. That's essentially number 1, okay? Number 2 is to hone your people skills. A lot of people think that they can't get management related experience until they transition to a management role. That is absolutely not true. You can definitely do that earlier than you even thought, and you can make sure that it really sets you up for success to move into that management role if you're doing this right, okay? So here's a couple ways that you can hone your management skills, right? You can manage an intern. You can be on a collaborative project where you're really overseeing it. You can be a project lead. You can do training or development of others. There are so many different ways that you can look at what are the key skills that managers are doing every single day, right? They're delegating, they're coaching, and they are overseeing all the moving pieces, right? They're developing and even, right, for corrective action as well. So think about all of those things as you are identifying what opportunities in the organization you want to pursue, and make sure that you're putting yourself in a position where you can have some decision-making ability, some ability to oversee others, coaching, guiding others. Those are the type of skills that you want to work on in other adjacent roles. If you have a great manager, a sponsor, somebody who is advocating for you, which is so important, which we're going to talk about next, but you want to make sure that the people in your organization are also helping you to have those type of opportunities, because they know that's what's going to help you advance, right? So we're not talking about barriers and red flags yet, but That's something that's huge, okay? Make sure that you're supported in your organization so that you can hone those people skills. Okay, number 3 is relationships. So you have to build strong relationships with people who are in decision-making positions, right? People who are going to be able to advocate for your promotion, people who are going to vouch for you when you're considering a promotion, people that understand what you have done and how you've done it and why that sets you up for success in the next step, right? And so that, I know that there's a lot of relationship, networking, gaming type of things that you could potentially look at, but you want to be really genuine to yourself. You want to get to know other people. You want to have them like you. You want to have them trust you. You want to show up for them so that they know you're reliable, right? And then as you build those relationships, they will begin to be your advocates. They will be a sponsor for you. So what is a sponsor, right? A sponsor is somebody who speaks up for you when you are not in the room. It's somebody who's advocating for you in the background. I mean, it could be when you're there, right? Hopefully they're doing both, but it's for you to have those considerations. So to bring that home, I talk about in a different video, which I'll probably link below somewhere, about how I became a manager, right? And a key success for me was that I was able to build relationships with those who were making decisions and really needing, I was going to need buy-in. Even though I wasn't in that room, I was going to need buy-in from them in order to become a manager, right? So I had built relationships with them. They liked working with me. They saw what I could do. And my direct manager was also advocating for me as well, okay? So that's something that you really need to consider. Who is going to be a sponsor for you? How do you build a relationship with them? Who's going to be a decision maker in your promotion? How do you build a relationship with them and become a valuable asset for them so they don't want to lose you, okay? Because let's be honest here, a lot of times not losing you is what's going to help make sure that you become that next level manager, okay? Make sure you are an asset they can't afford to lose. All right, 4 is visibility. Okay, this kind of has to do, visibility and impact. They're not the same thing. They should go together, but they don't often, sometimes, whatever. Okay. But basically, you need to make sure that when you're engaging in projects, when you're working on things, when you are making change in the organization, right? You having your head down, just doing it by the books, whatever is asked of you, is not going to give you the visibility and impact that you need in order to transition into a management role. So what do I mean by that? You want to take on projects, you want to take on duties, and you want to do them at a high level, and you want to make sure that it's really important to the key objectives of the organization, right? So essentially, so in my previous role, right, I was engaged in hiring executives, right? So the position, I was in a position in which leaders all across the campus, including my own direct reporting line, were able to see the impacts because I was engaging with a lot of people, right? Very high visibility, also very high risk, high stress sometimes, right? But it was giving me a position in which I was able to be visible to lots of leaders in the organization, and I was also able to really be able to quantify my impact by hiring great talent into an organization, okay? You don't have to be perfect, right? I definitely was not perfect. I was learning a lot of things, but you have grace in that, so don't get all stressed out about that. But what I'm saying is pick what you choose to work on very specifically, okay, and be intentional about it. And if you are tapped for a project, even though it's not in your regular duties, that's going to give you that type of impact and visibility, and to demonstrate your potential, you want to take those on. I'm not going to get too much into the details, but I see a lot of Black women specifically that don't want to be taken advantage of. I completely understand that, but that's why you need a timeline. We're going to talk about that next. But if you don't take on these higher level responsibilities, you won't be able to grow, and saying that it's outside of your job duties is not going to help you get there. Just putting that out there, okay? Got to prove what you're going to be able to do. And I don't mean the white supremacy bullshit. I just mean we all have to prove what we can do in an organization, not facing all the things that we usually have to do for not being believed as Black women. Okay, number 5 is advocate. Okay, this is where I know it's hard for Black women because often we are penalized for being arrogant or being assertive or being aggressive. But there is a way for you to advocate for yourself that is not cocky, that is not threatening, and that does get across the point that you're here to grow and develop, okay? So I will just give my example. Again, if you want to learn more, there's another longer video about that. But essentially, at every opportunity where I was in a place to talk about my growth and development, I talked about how it was my goal to become a manager. What should I do here to become a manager? How do I need to grow and develop? What resources are here to grow and develop? By the way, to my direct manager, I want to do that. Is there a way that I can help and gain these skills by working on projects, training others, coaching others, right? Whatever I need to do to make sure I have that skill set coming in before that opportunity is even available to me, I want to make sure I'm ready. And if you have a manager that's going to support you, be your sponsor, and is not threatened by you or has all of those biases that we see come up when we are strong Black women in the workplace, you want to make sure that you are really clear, really listening into the types of responses you are getting back from that individual, right? Again, talking about the barriers and boundaries that happen, or excuse me, barriers and biases that happen later. But again, if you are having these conversations and they are blocking you, you need to go, okay? Like, we're not playing around here. You have to advance your career, and we're not letting anybody stop you, love, okay? Okay. So just advocate. Make sure it's at the front of center where you're going, why you want it, and what you're doing. Number 6 is to make a plan. So becoming a manager is not just, did I say 6? Oh my God, I said 5 when I started this video. I actually had 6 tips. Bonus tip! Okay, make a plan, okay? If you are saying that you want to move into management, what's your timeline? Is that 6 months? Is that a year? Is that 3 years? Is that 5 years? Like, don't sleep on yourself, okay? Don't do that. But basically, like, what is your timeline for management? Communicate those to others. Ask about what's the best way that you can make that transition, make that pivot, okay? And sometimes that pivot is internal and sometimes that pivot is external. Do not rely on your current organization to make that happen for you, okay? Especially if they're really not showing up for you in terms of development and growth and talking to you about long-term opportunities the way that you deserve, okay? Number 2 is you need to identify a role, right? So for me, right, I was a senior recruiter essentially for executive recruitment. My title was talent consultant, but the title above me was an HR manager. Straight up oversaw that team. And I had to know that that's where I was going so that I can make sure the opportunities that I was looking at and cultivating were a part of that and made sense. If I didn't want that next step, I needed to start looking across either the organization that I'm in or external for the right type of opportunity that would really, so find the right next opportunity for me and then basically back up and align my skills, the experiences that I was doing with that, okay? It's a lot easier when you're just trying to move up in the next step in your organization, but certainly you need to be clear. And then once you've identified what that is, you need to start talking about your skills, how they align. You need to start identifying where your gaps are so that you can gain those skills, okay? So this is a really step-by-step process, but if you do that, you're gonna do great. Okay, so before I get to the common challenges, barriers, systemic issues, I don't know whatever I said, but our problems that we gotta face, okay, as Black women in America, moving into management, we're gonna get to that in just a second. But first, if you haven't subscribed and you are really enjoying this content, like, boo, subscribe. What are we waiting for? You want to spend more time with me. You want to gain more insight. Like, let's do it, okay? Subscribe. And I want to invite you to my upcoming webinar, okay? So every month, almost, or sometimes every other month, I do a webinar in the Career Love community. It is my community for ambitious Black women who are looking to grow, advance, and really transform their entire career. So every month, like I said, there's an event. I'm going live. We're talking about growth and opportunity. And this month, the topic of the webinar is actually Black, Beautiful, and Boss, okay? A Black woman's guide to moving into management. So a lot of the things that I taught you here today, we're going to go into greater detail in that webinar. So I definitely want you to be able to attend, okay? You can register below. If you're watching this close to the time that the video was released, you should be able to go below and sign up to watch me live. If you're watching this afterwards, you can still get access to the webinar. You're just going to watch the recording, right? The community, as well as myself, is still going to be available for you to grow and learn and really advance based on what you've learned there. So you may not be there live for the Q&A, but you will get the same type of support, the same type of information to move forward. And you'll also get to hang out with me in the community, okay? And it's a lot of fun. And the ladies who are in there are just fabulous, and we're growing. So it's still a little bit of an intimate feel. So I hope you get to join. And again, whether it's now, live, register below, join the community. It's $5, and you get access for the entire month, and you can be with us for as long as you choose to. But you know, I'm pretty great, so I don't know why you want to leave. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run through the common barriers and kind of things that you can do to help to navigate those barriers, okay? And I want you to say, like, do not be a martyr. Do not have to fight. You do not need to fight the system, okay? You need to be in an organization that's going to support you, because even if you fight your way all the way until management, you are going to be faced with the exact same challenges that you had when you went there. And a Black woman in management is even scarier to those who are fragile than a Black woman who is an individual contributor. So make sure that you're growing in the right organization. If you're facing any of these barriers and they're really systemic, they're ingrained, you can't really talk your way through any of these, they're not transparent, they're not willing to communicate, then it may mean that you need to exit to a management level role, which you can do. You don't have to be like, oh, I have to be in the same organization. Okay, you can just make that upward pivot. Or you may need to move into a comparable role that's going to set you up for management somewhere else, okay? All right, so the first common barrier is the white fragility barrier. So I find that women, right, in order for us to advance, right, we have to make change, we have to speak up, we have to do things differently, we have to be innovative, we have to be creative, right? And often to do that, you have to disrupt something. You have to change something, you have to bring something up, you have to do something better. And when you are in those situations, sometimes you happen to activate that white fragility, right? They may be threatened by you. They may pull the white women Black women are aggressive, card. Sometimes that doesn't always happen with white people as well, okay? But it's just the fragility of it. Be careful. Number 2 is the incompetent assumption. So people are just really assuming that you don't have the right skills for management, right? So when I was talking about my skill set and I was advocating for myself, even though I wasn't in a direct supervisor line, like formally supervising people all of the time, I was talking about how I was developing and coaching interns. I was talking about how I was training others in their role. I was talking about how I was making change, delegating, all of the things, coaching, mentoring, all of those things that are needed to be a successful manager. I was advocating for myself so that people did not make the assumption that I was incompetent in those areas, okay? And you need to make sure that you slide those in too. Talk about your experience, talk about your growth, talk about how everything that you've done thus far has prepared you for this moment. Okay. Okay. Number 3, the too good at your job or the help, right? So certain people will see you as only capable of what you were currently doing. A lot of times you cannot change that love, but the thing that you can do is very early on, especially if you have just changed careers, making sure that you are communicating that you want a progressive career, right? That you are looking to move forward, that it's important for you to grow and develop, right? Because then people are not going to play with your time. Okay, they know what you're here for, they know that you're looking to grow, and then they also probably know in the back of their head that if they don't give you that opportunity, you are moving on, okay? 4, I just heard about navigating the old boys network, right? It's not always the old boys network of, white men, okay? Sometimes it is an organization's way of doing things, their norms, their culture, and you have to navigate that in order to move into management, right? So essentially, if you can't navigate that as an individual contributor, again, it doesn't have to be the old boys network. You just have to understand the organization's way of doing things and how to get things done in that structure, because if you're not able to, you won't be efficient or effective as a manager, right? So your goal is to understand the norms of what goes on in an organization. Sometimes those norms are so harmful to Black women. They're around lack of transparency, lack of communication, secret rules. that's not the organization that you want to be a part of. I'm not saying to play to the rules or play the game so hard that you're in an organization that is toxic or not effective for you, or because we all thrive in different organizations, right? We're all different people. It may mean that the organization is not right for you if you don't like the culture or kind of how they work. So essentially evaluate that. If those are the norms that you are okay with adhering to, every organization has them, whether they're good or bad, then go ahead and learn them and use them to your benefits. If not, exit. Number 6 is that you just have no support, right? In order for you to become a manager, to get the right types of skills that you need to move into management, you need to have somebody there who will support you with development, opportunities, and again, being a sponsor. So a lot of Black women are just not developed. They are just not supported in that. And it can be really insidious sometimes, where they're like, oh, we want you to support, you go get this education, go get this course. Going to tell you about all these training opportunities are not the same of taking action to make sure that you actually have on-the-job experiences to gain that skill, okay? So don't make sure they're not just sending you like down the certification, down the education route. That is different. You need on-the-job experiences. Again, think about that visibility, think about that impact, think about that relationship building, okay? You have to do it in the organization to get that buy-in. 5. Okay. Oh gosh, I wouldn't order. 6. I don't know how I did this. Anyway, there were 6 of these as well. Why can't I count today? Okay, this is the jaded barrier. So a lot of times women who are wanting to move into management, they have, and I mean Black women, they have tried to do everything that they can to move into management. Sometimes people aren't telling them the truth. Sometimes people are lying to them to keep them complacent. Sometimes it's like, again, that help mentality, like they want you to stay around because you're good at your job, but they don't want to develop you. And what I find is that Black women kind of get a little bit jaded in their role. Like they're like, I hate this organization. They're never going to develop me. And it is a barrier that the organization has created for you, but it is your own barrier that you're creating for yourself as well. Like I'm saying, the point is at the end of the day, how you feel about it. If you feel that way, you need to exit, okay? It's going to come through in your interview. It's going to come through in the way that you do things. Be positive. And it's like one of those things that people talk about. It's like, oh, if he cheats, you have to forgive him, and you have to be willing to forgive him to move forward in your marriage. Okay, that's how you got to feel about your job. If your job is trying to do right by you, even though they have done wrong by you in the past, then you have to let that go in order to advance, right, and grow. So that being said, decide whether or not this organization is an organization that you want to continue to grow in. If not, exit. There are opportunities for you. Okay? All right, loves, we are at the end of this video. I want you to know that if you are really in a place where you want some one-on-one coaching, some one-on-one mentoring to help you move into management or advance your career otherwise, make a decision about where you want to go next, I would love to talk with you. I had 15-minute career clarity chats. They are really transformative. I know 15 minutes with me can change your world, okay? That's how confident I am. No, but like really, I love having conversations with you all. I love helping you get a little bit more clear about what you want to do. And honestly, if you're on that call and you're like, you know what, I do want ongoing support, I do want mentoring, I do want coaching, then we can talk about that at the end of the call. But I will link below where you can schedule a career clarity chat with me. Again, they're free, 15 minutes, and we can get to know each other, okay? And it can help you figure out what to do next in your career on your path in order to be a manager. Okay. So that being said, that brings us to the end of this video. Like I said, it is my passion, my motivation, my mission to see leadership actually represent how many Black women are in the workplace who are looking to advance and create those opportunities. So if you know another Black woman who is wanting to grow, advance, share this video with them. Make sure that we have more Black women, all the Black women that we need, okay? What is it? 7.4% of Black women in senior leadership roles, and that management piece is just the start of it. So if you enjoyed this video, share it with your network, share it with another Black woman who can benefit from it. Leave me some comments or some likes below. I would love to know if you found this video helpful or not, and of course subscribe. So I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully in the Career Love community. Okay, bye. Woo!